Hey, welcome to your day off. My name is Corey. Of course, I'm sitting with my best bud, Tony. What's up, man?
What's up, bud?
Nothing, man. I'm pretty stoked about today.
Oh, yeah. This particular person has been on our radar for about a year now.
Mhm.
And she, you know, we had an opportunity to meet her. We were up in New York. Thank you, Hairbrain, when they did when they had the after party or their awards. And
At IBS.
Yeah. So we had a chance to pin her in a corner. And
she probably felt that way.
Yeah, we were going to let her out of the corner until she agreed to come on.
Exactly.
And so she agreed to come on.
Thank you very much.
But she's one of the, not to hate to steal this phrase, but, one of the women pioneers in this industry.
100%.
She's done a lot of first for women in this industry.
I can't wait to get into it, actually.
Yeah.
Should we bring her in so she can tell her story a little bit?
Yeah, because people aren't tuning in for you and I.
No,
you know what I'm saying?
That's definitely not the truth. Thank goodness we have a cool guest like this one today.
Yeah.
Today our guest is it's Antoinette Beenders and
Beenders.
What, I got to say it with a weird accent now.
Yeah.
Beenders. I'm sure she'll
long E, not a short.
I'm sure she'll correct me.
Okay.
They always do. So, Miss Antoinette Beenders, welcome to your day off.
Hi, guys. It's a pleasure to be with you guys. Oh, you're something else, aren't you?
we'll see.
Right.
So, what's up, Miss Antoinette? Thank you again for coming on, and also, not to name drop, but we'll name drop. Thank you for Ruth Roche for introducing us as well.
Yeah. I'm sure you had no idea what you were getting yourself into when she.
No, but I trust Ruth.
Yeah, we love Ruth.
Yeah, that's awesome. So,
yeah, where are you from?
Well, I was originally born in the Netherlands, and I spent the first 20 years of my life there. And then started hairdressing as a Saturday girl when I was 14. And then by the time I was about 19, I saw the Trevor Sorby artistic team in the Netherlands. And I realized that I wanted to make a career in hairdressing. So I thought I need to move to London. So when I was 20 years old, I got on a plane and went to Trevor Sorby. And I said, hey, I'm coming to work for you, whether you like it or not. And he was so shocked that he took me on.
Oh, wow.
First, he sent me away. I have to be honest. First, he sent me away because I didn't speak any English, because I was Dutch, a Dutch native.
Right.
And so I thought, well, excuse me, Mr. Sorby, I'm coming back whether you like it or not. So I did. A couple of months later, I came back and I said, I'm not leaving. And he said, okay, then. Late 80s. Sure. And so he said, but I'll take you on. I won't pay you for the first month. I'll put you in my school. And after a month, you do a test. And if you pass the test, I'll take you on. And if you don't pass the test, you go back to the Netherlands. I said, okay. Well, so I worked my little butt off, obviously, to try and pass this test. And this was the time where Vivian McKinder was working in the school, Eugene Solomon, Damien Carney, to name a few. They were all teachers there. And I worked as hard as I could, but I was trained the French way in the Netherlands. And these guys were all doing the British kind of ex-Sassoon way. And I had no idea, no clue.
So hold on, slow down. So how would you define, what are those differences? We hear that a lot on the podcast, but can you define what those differences are, or at least what your opinion of those differences are?
How honest do you want me to be?
Honest?
Straight honest? Yeah. Well, I think if you look at French hairdressing, it's very feminine. And when it comes to hair cutting, it's maybe a little, they're very much like a scooping type of technique. Whereas if you look at the English way, I would say more Sassoon derived. It's very much about precision sectioning and precision cutting. I think the French are very good in dressing hair and blow drying. They can make any haircut look amazing and feminine. Whereas I think when it comes to traditional British hairdressing, it's more about the cut, not necessarily so much about the blow dry. And as a little trade internal joke, we always used to say, well, French haircut takes 10 minutes. And lasts, it takes 10 minutes and lasts a couple of weeks, and then English haircuts takes an hour and it lasts 6 weeks. So, but it's a different technique. It's a different style. It's I mean, I appreciate both, and I'm lucky to be trained in both. So.
Yeah.
So your finishing skills must be crazy then. I mean, that's a benefit to, you know, once you have like a strong, like British structure in the haircut, right?
Had all her work.
Yeah, right. I know, right? That's crazy.
And I think that was nice when I joined Sorby. I mean, again, you know, I took me on, but I had to completely retrain. So I was 18. At 18, I was a manager of a salon in the Netherlands because, you know, I started so young. I started at 14.
What's a Saturday girl?
Okay. That's interesting. So it's like I just worked on Saturday because during the week I just went to high school. So on Saturdays I worked in the salon and washed hair and do stuff like make coffees and stuff. I make a mean coffee, by the way.
We'll take you up on that.
Yeah, I'm a coffee connoisseur. I love coffee.
Okay. Yeah. So yeah, what, you know, being a junior, being an assistant, but you do it on Saturdays only.
Okay.
So
it's very you don't have that in the States? Obviously not. If you're asking the question.
Yeah, I mean, I've never heard of it.
Well,
okay, it's very European, I suppose.
Yeah, like 14, unless your parents own the shop, you ain't working in the shop unless you
get
a work permit.
Yeah, exactly. So that's probably that hiccup there, right?
The child labor laws.
Which apparently they don't have in Europe. Right? They slave them up to 12. Right?
Yeah. Before that, I had a newspaper around.
Right. So after being a Saturday,
hold on. That's funny that you say that because, you know, when you're a kid, you're allowed to deliver newspapers, right? On your bike. What's the difference?
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. That's going down a whole nother track.
All right. Yeah, we'll get out of there. Yeah, I just saw a squirrel. Sorry.
Woo, squirrel. So Antoinette, so after being a Saturday girl, so then how old were you when you started working in the salon, you know, more full time?
16.
Oh, so at 16 you were working in the salon.
Yeah, full time. And then, like I said, from 16 till about 20, by the time I was 18, I was a manager. And it was really funny how I became a manager because my manager at the time went on holiday. And she said, you need to look after the shop while I'm away. I said, okay. So while she was away, I doubled the takings. So she came back and I was the manager.
Oh.
What is that? Whoa. Hold on.
That is awesome.
That is. So how did you double them, though? What did you do?
Well, you're talking a long time ago, but, you know, I think it was all to do with my enthusiasm. I've always been very enthusiastic. And I think if you bring that across to your clients, you know, we just did a lot more work. We sold a lot more product. So
right. Wow.
I think, you know, enthusiasm goes for a lot. It counts for a lot. People, you know, they're very quickly attracted to that. I've noticed throughout my life. And, you know, if you put a little passion behind anything, you know, you get it done. So.
That's the truth.
And then maybe we're going backwards a little bit. So it was 20 when you reached out to Trevor?
Yeah. Well, I saw his art because I was very keen. You see, in Holland at that time, late 80s, there was, you know, he didn't really have a career in hairdressing. It didn't really exist. And I knew I wanted to do more than working behind the chair. I wanted to really have a career. Mm-hmm. So when I saw the artistic team of Trevor Sorby, you know, they used to come over because it's like very close to England. When I saw them demonstrating, I was like, that's what I want to do. I feel like I need to go there. That's it. And I just instantly, I knew it. And so I had an interview arranged in England and I went over and I said to them, I said, I'd like to work here. And I said, well, okay. But my English, I could hardly speak any English because, you know, it wasn't my first language. Mm-hmm. So then they said, well, thank you, but no, thank you. And then I went back a couple of months later and I said, hey, I'm coming to work for you, whether you like it or not. And Trevor said, I've seen you here before. I said, yeah, and I'm not leaving. That was kind of very much me and still is. If I put my mind on it, that's it, I'm going. Mm-hmm. So he took me on and he said, the first 6 months, I'll put you in my academy and we'll teach you, or the first month rather. And then you do a test at the end of the month. You do the test. If you pass, you stay, and if you don't pass, you go back. I'm like, okay. Well, after 3 weeks,
that's not like brushing up on your skills. You're learning a completely different technique.
Correct.
In 1 month.
Yeah.
That is super scary.
And also, like Trevor, and I know Vivian's kind of notorious for
some of the stories,
let me not brush it for being hard asses.
Yeah, the stories that we heard about the school or the training that you had to do. Mm-hmm. I mean,
intense.
No
it's
joke.
Nobody didn't earn it, as they say.
True. And then after, because obviously I wasn't that strong, I wasn't that great. But I was determined to stay there. I thought, what can I do, to stay here? So I ended up getting them all the models for their academy. I used to stand outside till 11 o'clock at night, outside Topshop, looking for models to have their hair cut off. So I became very good at model hunting, and still today, I think that's one of my strengths. It's choosing the right girls for campaigns, and I think it stems back from those days.
Wow. No lesson is unlearned, or no lesson isn't used, right?
That's impressive. I mean, especially going to a different country, you don't speak the language, but I mean, what kind of inspiration, or what kind of message would you send to young people that, this is what I want to do, right? I mean, what kind of message would you give them? I mean, I don't know what I'm asking, but
but I can give you an answer. My first question is, how really badly do you want to do it? Because if you just go, oh yeah, I want to do it, well, you're not going to get there. No, how badly do you want to do it? If you want it really badly, you'll do whatever it takes. And that is what's going to set you apart from anybody else. Because there's a lot of people that want to do things, but there's not a lot of people that do whatever it takes. And if I look throughout my career, the things I've given up personally, I've done the most craziest thing in order to do what I needed to do. And I suppose that's why I'm still around today.
I love that answer.
Yeah. Thank you. I mean, yeah. Hopefully the young people that, that have dreams, that they take that to heart.
Forget about young people. I mean, that's just a message for all of us, right?
That's true.
I mean, whatever it takes. What are you going to do? Whatever it takes.
But I'm not moving right now to a different country.
No, but I don't think that's what she's saying. I think she's saying like on a broad, if how bad do you want it? Whatever it is, how bad do you want it?
Yeah.
I'll give you an example. So if you are a young person, or a person, because I don't care, age makes no difference to me. Age and gender I don't care about. If you want to be an assistant or backstage at New York Fashion Week, you got to be in New York, not in Florida. You know what I mean? It's little things like that. You got to be where it's at. So I was in Holland. It wasn't happening there. I wanted to have a career where it was happening, and London was the place. So I moved. I literally moved with 50 pounds in my pocket, one suitcase. I arrived at Heathrow with nowhere to go. And that's what it took.
It's amazing how often that's the story, right? If you hear like actors or something like, I just showed up to Hollywood at $8 in my pocket. Now, what you don't hear about is the 8 million people before them that had the same $8 in their pocket that didn't make it. But, I guess once you start talking to somebody, it's because they've made it for some reason or another.
They didn't find Trevor Sorby. They found somebody else.
Exactly. So, okay. So I think we're a month into the Trevor. So what, how was the test out? Yeah. That's a good place to stay.
Well, the first one, like I said, wasn't great. That's why I had to go back. The second one went a lot better, because what happened, they realized I wasn't going to make it in 3 weeks. So what they said, you know what, we're going to put you in the salon as an assistant, and then you have a little bit more time to learn. And then because they had model nights twice a week in the salon, and then you will do another test. So I just needed that extra little time. 6 months later, I passed with flying colors. And I actually became a teacher pretty quickly after, because what I realized, when you have to learn something new in a different language, you have a whole different way of approaching of learning. So I started to relate everything to things that happen in my daily life. Let me give you an example. So for instance, and I teach this when I still teach now and then, like a haircut to me is like a house. Yeah, that's how I related it all, because I had to relate it to the most simplest way, because my language wasn't that strong. So a house has 4 walls. That is the foundation of the cut. That's the sectioning. Then you got a roof, the house has 4 walls that holds up the roof. So that's the foundation. Then inside the house, you got curtains, you got carpet, all the things that make the house pretty. That's the texturizing. So texturizing, if you were just to put curtains and carpets, out there, you're not going to have a house. So the house is the foundation. The interior is the prettiness. So a foundation without texturizing is still a foundation. Texturizing by itself has no foundation. So what I'm trying to say with this, a haircut with a foundation will last 6 to 8 weeks, up to 10 weeks sometimes. But just a texturizing cut lasts 2 to 3 weeks. And I was trying to relate those techniques to simple everyday things. And that's a lot of the time how people who weren't English speaking, as their first language, understood English hairdressing in a much quicker pace. Hence, I toured a lot.
That makes sense, man.
Trevor's like, hey, make sure you get Antoinette with us. Come on. You turned out to be the interpreter, right?
Exactly.
Yeah, but it's quite interesting because if in those days, especially early 90s, there were a lot of hairdressers on stage, and they still see it sometimes. And they talk jargon, And if you're a non-English speaking person, you have no idea what people talk about. And there's always a lot of holding a section and a lot of kind of, like voyeurism. And, people don't always get that. If you go to a seminar or show, you want to learn something, So to break it down to those people, they learned something, and it made them better. And that's the end of the day what I was in for.
I love that.
It's crazy. Look, Saturday girl, 14, hairdresser by 16, manager by 18, with Trevor by 20. How old were you when you started teaching?
I think I was 22.
All her even years.
Oh my, yeah.
Right, yeah, crazy, right?
Those are incredible.
Right. So I'm lost for words in the sense of, someone you talk about have vision and a drive where they want to go, where they want to be, and what they want to do. Mm-hmm. And she knew exactly that, and she was able to accomplish it in a short amount of time, right? I mean, it's amazing.
Yeah, but you don't think like that, when you go through it. You just go, I want to do that. Okay, then you get there. Oh, what do I want to do this? I want to do that. Okay, so you keep moving your goals. And one thing I do, and I need to start doing it again, actually, I haven't done it for a while, is every year I write down my goals on a piece of paper. What do I want to achieve this year? And the years that I don't do it, I go off course. I've noticed it. So, but the years I've done it, I'm very sharp, like, okay, I want to get this. I want to get this. So,
well, lucky for us, we had Antoinette written down on our goal sheet, so we can scratch that off after hearing about 30 minutes, as long as she doesn't run out of here. Right. Could happen. Okay, so you were with how long were you with Trevor?
11 years.
11 years. So you were with the artistic team and all that for 11. That's the whole, give us that 11-year span.
Okay, so let me see, because it's been a little while. So so I started working in the salon. I became a stylist. Then I became a teacher. And also the thing what happened was that Trevor used to do a lot of photo shoots at that time. Uh-huh. So because I was probably one of the hardest working people there, he used to take me as his assistant, because I'll do anything. And
you'll find models.
Well, yeah, models, whatever, stylists, makeup artists, the whole thing. So what happens in those days, like the makeup artist that worked with Trevor had an assistant. The stylist that did the clothing also had an assistant. So I used to hook up with those assistants and then start doing our own photo shoots to do our own tests and create our own editorial books. So pretty quickly, I started having my own editorial book. So then I could go around magazines and, do hair for models and celebrities or whatever it was, TV stuff. And and then I started traveling with Trevor all over the world, and he was such a master of show. I've learned that from him, to be on, how to be on stage, how to conduct a show. And then I start getting nominated and stuff, once you start getting nominated and win a few awards, you start going on the, on the bigger scene, and then you get noticed and things kind of go from there.
Wow.
Yeah. So
it sounds really awful.
Yeah. So when did you win your first award?
My first, the one or nominated one?
Yeah.
Okay. The first one I won was in 95, Avant-Garde Hairdresser of the Year.
Wow. And that was British.
Yeah, British. It was in the British Hairdressing Awards. 2 years before that, I was nominated for Newcomer of the Year, but Sasha Muscola won. I was talking to her about it the other day, actually. It was funny. And in 96, I won London Hairdresser of the Year. 97, I won London. Then I didn't win. Then I got nominated, I think, in 99 for British Hairdresser of the Year. Wow. And I was
nominated. Hold on, slow down. So what was that like? Like British Hairdresser of the Year? I mean, just think of the
insane. And you know why? Because I was always a foreigner. So to be nominated for a British Hairdresser of the Year, that was a huge thing for me. And I wanted to do it my way, of course. So my first entry, you see, when you get nominated for British, you can't just enter that. You can enter London, you can enter Avant-Garde. It's a bit like Naha, you know, you can enter whatever you want. But to be up for the big one, you need to be nominated by the press or the industry. So I ended up being nominated, and I think it was only 4 or 6 people in that category. And I was the only girl, of course, in those days. And then I decided to do something rather than getting some money and do models and do pictures. I wanted to do a little bit more than that. So I decided to just photograph real people. So take people from the street, because I knew how to find them, and then photograph them. And then whatever money I had left over, I wanted to donate it to a house for women, you know, that went through abuse, because I wanted to have a meaning rather than, you know, just pictures of beauty. So I did. It was kind of like a makeover thing, you know, so I had before pictures and after pictures on my entry form, and I got disqualified.
What was the
I got disqualified because you weren't allowed to put before pictures on the entry form. But still today, if I look back, I mean, I did pictures of someone in their teens, 20s, all the way up to 90. And the picture of the 90-year-old, I think, is still the best one today. It's actually on my Instagram. If you go way down, it's a picture of an old lady in a little Givenchy jacket with this kind of cute little hairdo.
Okay. She had like a little, was it kind of curly?
Yeah, curly. Yeah.
Okay. So here's the contest, right? Whoever's listening to this podcast right now, and I will forget by the time we get it up. What you have to do is you have to grab that image and then tag us and Antoinette in it. So you'll scroll through her thing and then tag us in your stories for it as well. Deal.
I'd love that. Yeah, it'd be great. Yeah, the woman was 92 years old when I did her hair.
Wow, she had a lot of style. I mean, she looked fantastic in that picture.
Well, you should see the before. Before it was kind of like hair to hair, you know, and then I set it and it made it into this kind of avant-garde-ish number. Funny enough, you know, there's a guy called Mark. He has an Australian magazine. I'm terrible that I forgot the name of that magazine. But he totally picked up on it. And he stuck that picture on the cover of his magazine and his advertising. And he said, some people still don't get it. And I thought it was genius. So that was the best thing that happened out of that whole thing. So that was really cool. But anyway, then obviously it made a bit of a difference, because I also stuck a 65-year-old model on stage in 1999. This is way before, you know, Donna Karan did her whole women campaign, the whole shebang. So people thought I was crazy. And I thought, no, you know what? It's actually, we should be looking at people not just who are 18 in a picture. So, but then, so the British
standing up for women for a while.
Oh,
you were the first woman to win the avant-garde, right?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. So what happened was that there's another award in England called the British Fellowship of Hairdressing. Are you familiar with that?
No, I'm not.
Okay, well, it's like it's kind of like all the top hairdressers in the UK are part of this. It's quite a big entity, and it's kind of it's been going for hundreds of years, and it's I can explain it. Yeah, they do training and shows, and they have their own hairdressing awards, and you can't enter; they nominate you. So although I got disqualified for the official British Hairdresser of the Year award, which was a company-sponsored award, no names mentioned. I won British Hairdresser of the Year for the fellowship. So it was really nice, you know. I was very lucky. I won that twice with them over the years. And that was a big honor. And if you look every December, the Monday after the British Hairdressing Awards, you have the British Fellowship Awards. And it's funny, if you're into hair, watch that on internet. It's very interesting. And a lot of emerging talent comes out of that group. It's very cool.
That's pretty cool, man.
I'm writing it down now.
We got it written down.
Yeah, I mean, you can't see anything, but I got a few things hanging on the wall from the fellowship here. It's, you know, you get a medal and stuff. It's quite funny. It's kind of old-fashioned in a way, but kind of cool at the same time.
It's not old-fashioned. It's traditional.
Oh, traditional. Sorry.
Traditional. It's traditional. Okay.
Is it? I mean, a couple hundred years. I mean, that's has to be the award.
There.
It has to be.
Well, maybe 100 might be exaggerated. You know, I'm a hairdresser.
Right.
But, I mean, it's been going, I think, to the 50s, at least the 50s.
Like 20 BC.
Setting hair on bones.
Right. I love it.
right. That's so cool. Antoinette, so what brought you to the U.S.? When did you come to the U.S.? What was that?
Okay, so where are we now? We're like 99 nominated. Then I started. I also at the same time in '97. I had been headhunted by a couple of people because you start winning awards and you get attention from other companies, and we used to do. Me and Ruth used to do shows because Ruth was art director for America for Trevor Sorbie, and I was the international art director. That's how I met Ruth. So we used to travel together a lot, and but I also knew that when I used to come to the States, she used to fly me over, make me do a model call the minute I arrived, show the next day, workshop the day after, and send you back on the plane overnight home. So it was always pretty grueling. Mm-hmm. And I thought, I'm not so sure if I want to be in America. I'm not so sure about that. So in '97, I was approached by Horst Rechelbacher, the founder of Aveda. And he said, I want you to do some shows. I said, yeah, but I'm not coming to America. He said, okay. So he kind of used to bring me into Minneapolis, and I used to do shows here at the Institute. But then when he sold in 1999, we got a new president, a guy called Dominique Conseil, and he wanted to have a hairdresser at the helm of the company because Horst had sold, and he wanted to make sure that everything was seen through the eye of a hairdresser. So he approached me and he said, I want you to become the creative director. And this was in 2005. I had just won British Hairdresser of the Year as well in December 2004.
So you eventually got that title. 6
years later,
right.
I was like, unbelievable. It took me forever. But I tell you, man, when I won, the whole freaking room went down. It was amazing. It was just, everybody so badly wanted me to win that title because they know how hard I worked for it. And, I was this kid that was always doing everything everywhere. So, yeah, it was amazing. It was one of the best nights in my life.
Were you still with Trevor at that time?
No, I was at Aveda then. But Trevor was there. Trevor will always be my dad, okay? Right. He will always be around. That's just, he brought me up, and I'm very thankful to him. But in 2005, Dominique Conseil came to me and said, I want you to become the creative director of Aveda. And I'm like, well, and I want you to move to New York. And I'm like, I'm not sure about that. Because I was asked by another company before, Michael Gordon, for Bumble.
Yeah.
And I was like, nah, that's not my scene. I already moved from a country once. Why would I want to do that again? At this stage, I'm married. I have an English husband. It's like, I'm not so sure. And he said, well, here's what you do. You can live in London 3 weeks and you come to New York 3 weeks. And that's how he got me over. So it's very smart. So I went to New York and then not quite realizing what the job entailed, because I thought I was just going to be creative director of hair. No, what he meant, I was going to be creative director of the entire company, which meant packaging design, store design, visual merchandising, graphic design, copywriting. I was like, okay. Wow. So I had to learn a whole new job. Yeah.
Wow.
And which was very good for me because I learned to challenge myself in different ways. And, having done at that time so many pictures, videos, TV, the whole shebang, I knew how to turn the image of the brand around at that time. So, and that's what I did, and learned a whole new job next to it. So looking now, that was 2005. Now it's 2019. So 14 years later, I'm a senior vice president of the company, and I know a lot about how to make, a creative team for a corporate company, which I thoroughly enjoy. And whilst at the same time having my hair career.
That's amazing.
So I'm very lucky. Not
to quote Vivian McKinder, but, not just a hairdresser, right? Like she's doing it all, man. You know what I mean? That's incredible. So I don't want to get too far ahead, but I also want to ask a question. What, how much of, like today, how much of your career is actually like in hands and how much of it is just kind of on the corporate side, figuring stuff out?
It's actually 50-50. Because I was lucky. They kind of left me alone to keep going with my creative stuff, whilst also doing the corporate stuff. So yes, I have a team here of 34 people that, in my creative department, but then I have a fashion week team and I have a show team as well. So it depends on the time of the year. Say September is crazy because it's fashion week, and you get a lot of hair shows and stuff. But then come, say, what is it now? We're now in May, so it's kind of a quiet time for hairdressing. But we're starting to plan everything. So June I'll be in Milan for just Stella McCartney. Then in July I'll be in Brazil In August, I'll be in Australia. In September, I'll be in New York and London. So in between, I do all these different things. So it's kind of a really crazy life, maybe to some people that are hearing that, like, this sounds insane. And it is, but I'm used to it, so I don't know any better.
So any young people with dreams of visiting all that place, show up at, where are you at? Tell them that you're going to be working for her.
Even if you don't speak the language.
Even if you don't speak the language.
There you go. It's not the first time that's happened. I was doing a little gig. We have a school here in Minneapolis, and I was prepping for, I thought, you know what, I haven't been on stage for a couple of months. I better brush up my skills, you know. So I went to the Institute, and I thought, I'll do a class for all the new kids that are coming in. And it was really fun. And I thought, I'll do a graduated bob and a round graduation. And I was standing there, and there was this girl, and she was like really keen. And she reminded me a little bit of myself at the time, like wanted to do everything. And I'll do that. And afterwards, I kind of got to speak to her a little bit. And we spoke about her time at home. And she was a foster child. And she didn't have a very nice personal life. And I said, look, you can do whatever you want. You can get out of this, you know. I said, here's what you do. Come and assist me at Congress, which is probably the biggest show I do for us, which is a show for 5,000 people every 2 years in Minneapolis. So she assisted me. And I said, you can come, providing you do whatever I tell you. She goes, yeah, no problem. And when I do shows, guys, it's like 16-hour days. It's not like 9 to 5, okay? Anyway, so she did. And, you know, she worked her butt off. While she's there, she's meeting people from my team who then offer her a job because she sees how enthusiastic she is. And she's now graduated from her institute, and she's got a job lined up at the best salon here in Minneapolis. So you know what? It can happen.
That's awesome.
Yeah, those are the stories that I love to hear, right? It, you know, like you did it, and now you've seen other people do it, and it's real.
Yeah, no doubt. Do you kind of feel indebted, like if you see that person that's like you, right? Like you, like dedicated or committed. Do you kind of feel like, is there a responsibility to be like, I'm going to give this person a break or this person a chance?
Yeah, for sure. Because you know what? I know what it takes to get somewhere. And listen, I'm very lucky. I come from a family, from parents that are still together, and I had a very happy upbringing. But you know what? There's so many kids out there that don't come from that. They also deserve a chance, and to get out of their situation, I'm all for that. So I will give them whatever chance they need, providing they work for it. If they show up and sit there with a sloppy face going, then you're not going to come over. It's not going to happen. But you can pretty much tell if someone's interested, you know. Like I said, it's enthusiasm. That's what I was when I was a kid. I didn't understand it, but I was enthusiastic. I wanted it. So how badly do you want it?
We're back to that, huh? How bad?
Yeah.
I love that.
That's the name of this podcast. How bad do you want it?
That's it. Boom. You just named it, man. So, Antoinette, over the years, you've been in a managerial position, and I'm sure that again, enthusiasm. You need more than enthusiasm to be a successful manager. Like, what's that transition been about for you? And also, did you find like difficult conversations hard to have, and like how have you evolved in that as well?
I think being a manager is about listening. It's like doing a client. It's about listening. It's like, what do they got to say? Well, make them feel a part of it. I think as hairdressers, because I'm a great analyzer. I like to think about stuff. If I wasn't a hairdresser, I'd be a detective. I like figuring it out. I think hairdressers, and I've seen it do myself, that's why I recognize it. When you're behind the chair and you do someone's hair, you are the most important person to that client because you are there with a pair of scissors or a color ball or whatever it is. You're going to transform that person. So that person, you're very powerful over that person. So what happens, we get used to that as hairdressers, like I'm the one who does that. I make her great. It becomes a little bit about us. And when you're a manager, it's not about you. It's about your team. Because you're only as good as a manager as your team is. So it becomes a different dynamic. But it goes both ways because I can help you, the team, but you're going to help me too. And if that's not a two-way thing, then we're going to have a conversation. And being Dutch, I'm pretty straightforward and direct. When I hire people, I say, listen, you can say whatever you want to me, but I'm going to say whatever I want to you too. Are you okay with that? And that's how that starts. So it starts from day one. And if something doesn't work, or if something starts sloping off, I'm in there. I'm like, hey, you know what? I don't like that. Or why did you do that? Or just really straightforward.
Mm-hmm.
And people appreciate that.
I think everybody appreciates, like, if they know where they stand, right?
Yeah.
But like some of my favorite people that I get to deal with, like, aren't the easiest necessarily to deal with, but at least I know where I stand.
Yeah.
Right? You kind of do have to appreciate that.
And it's interesting you said they're not the easiest. You know what? Because people like myself, we get perceived sometimes as being difficult.
Mm-hmm.
We're not being difficult. We just know what we want.
Right.
And that's the difference, because, when I go and do a show, I want this, and this, because this is what's going to take to do my show the way I want it. And if that's difficult, well, then maybe I'm not the right person. I don't know. But.
Right. And that goes back to, for instance, when you joined Trevor, you wanted to be a part of what Trevor's vision was, right?
Yeah.
So when people join you, it's not about what they want to do. They're joining your vision. And like you said, you're going to help them in the process at the same time they're helping you in the process. Mm-hmm. And sometimes I think a lot of people forget, that was kind of just a little bit of a light switch just went on my head.
Yeah.
No.
Well, there's also this saying, it also goes with the clients, for everybody who works in the salon. I always say you attract what you project. So it's interesting, I don't know if you guys are the same, but I always ended up having the same type of clients.
Yes.
Totally. Isn't that interesting? And it's funny because it's a reflection of yourself. So look at your clientele, see what it's like. Do you like that? Well, if not, change a few things. You know what I mean?
The best advice ever.
Right.
The best advice we've given out on this podcast.
No, it's true. Honestly, like I said, you recognize it. So I'm sure you have the same experience, when you work behind the chair. But I think we're extremely lucky as hairdressers. That's another thing I've learned, having been behind the chair for 30 odd years, as well as being in a corporate role, is that I always say, if you can talk someone into cutting the hair off, or, giving a completely different color, you can talk anybody into anything. You know how powerful that is in a corporation? Like, whenever we need to sell something, they always send me to do it because, it's the passion behind it. If you believe in something, it's the passion. But I can only do it if I believe in it. If I don't believe in it, no, forget it. Won't do it.
So what was it about Aveda that made you believe in it?
You know what? For a very long time, I always wanted to work with. Well, let's go back. This is you open up a can of worms here, actually. First of all, when I was working in Holland, there was this company, I can't remember what it was, but they had a blue shampoo, and I was so blown away by it that I used it. And then the first product I saw of Aveda at the time was Blue Melva, which was also a blue shampoo. And I was like, okay, that's interesting. That piqued my interest. And then I started finding out about, I discovered Aveda as an editorial hairdresser in the 90s when Aveda just entered the UK. And all the cool hairdressers were using it at the time. And it was like, okay, what is this stuff? And because it's natural, it has a whole different effect on the hair than all the petrochemical-based products I used to work with. So I was really impressed because I like hair to be hair. I don't want it to be caked in, chemicals that it doesn't feel like hair anymore. Because to me, hair is like fabric, I like to manipulate the fabric. So when I started to get to know a little bit about the Aveda product, I was really blown away by the effects of it. And then Horst came over to the UK, and I was just like, who is this guy? He was like so different. I didn't even know he was a hairdresser at the time. I just knew he was this guy who made this amazing product. And he obviously saw the potential in me, and he said, oh, you need to come over. So at one point I was doing a show in New York, and he was there as well. And he was on stage promoting his book. And as I heard him talk, I was just so blown away with his knowledge. And this guy at the time had this most incredible knowledge about nature and what we do to our bodies and, just life in general. It was way bigger than hairdressing. And I liked that because I was so hair focused, So to me, it was like opening the whole spectrum of what I'm dealing with. Now I'm going from hair to health. I thought it was really interesting. And then I went on stage after him and I did a braid. And he was so blown away by how I did this braid. So we have this kind of real connection since then. We're like, oh my God, And then he was doing a book signing. And I queued up because I wanted him to sign my book. And he wrote in my book, "To the sister I never had," which is like unbelievable. And I still have that. And that was, since that day, you know, I just had this amazing connection with this unbelievable man. And unfortunately, he's no longer with us, but he taught me a lot about health and life. Trevor taught me about hair. Horst taught me about life and business as well.
Wow.
Yeah. You've been so fortunate and blessed with so many great mentors.
I know.
Oh, and then to top it up, I had another one. Let me tell you about the one after that.
Yeah.
So then I meet Leonard Lauder, Mr. Estee Lauder. He's another unbelievable man, unbelievable. And he taught me about business and management. So I have been extremely lucky. Even though I'm a girl, I had 3 male mentors. But I honestly, I'm extremely lucky to have had those people in my life.
But even as a girl, like, I mean, you know, you can't help who your mentors were, but isn't there a responsibility to where now you need to take those lessons that you've learned from those men and kind of like, you know, empower the next generation or the generation coming up?
Absolutely. And I'd like to think I'm doing that. I mean, I created 3 teams. So, and they're now at a stage where they need to, you know, do their thing. If you think of Ian Black, if you think of Ricardo Dennis, Alan Ruiz, you know, all award-winning hairdressers, Robert Crimes, another NAHA winner. And they're all, you know, they're now spreading their wings and, you know, having their teams. We're now working on a new North American artistic team, you know, which is the next generation. So we'd like to kind of keep the whole thing going.
Wow. That's amazing.
So impressive.
It is so impressive. So when we were honored enough to speak with Mr. Sorby, you know, a few months ago, and it was on, aside from Antoinette, you know, Trevor was like our biggest get, you know, like for Tony and I, like we're kind of like a half a generation behind like the Vidal Sassoon craze, I guess. Not that we don't respect Vidal, let me be super clear, but our guy that we looked up to was definitely Trevor. Like he was the top of the mountain, so to speak, for us. And boy, I can't even tell you, if you listen to that podcast for about the first 5 minutes, Tony and I can't even really contain ourselves because we can't believe we're actually talking to Trevor. But Trevor and Vidal Sassoon are definitely like on our Mount Rushmore of hairdressers. And then the other 2, we could debate about 100 other different hairdressers. But if I gave you only 4, who's your Mount Rushmore of hairdressers?
Ooh, that's an interesting one. Dead or alive?
Either.
I mean, Vidal on ours. Come on.
Well, have you guys heard of a guy called TZ Weezy? Raymond?
We just did.
All right. He was an incredible guy, from a UK guy who used to have his own plane in the 50s and go and do hair for big stars in Paris. It's really worth checking out his history. It's really fun. So I think from a entrepreneurship, unbelievable. Of course, Trevor, you know, I mean, he taught me hair. I mean, there's no doubt about it. But I have respect for, you know, for many. There's, what's his name? The French guy. I'm terrible with names. I'm really good with faces, but I'm crap with names. I mean, I like, you know, Angelo, one of my old assistants. He's amazing. I look at Eugene Solomon. I used to work with for 11 years. He's amazing. You know, Viv is an incredible educator. So is Ruth. I mean, there's so many, you know. I've worked with a lot of amazing people. I don't have one that really stands out in hair. I don't. Because I like people for different things. So, I mean, if you look at the Boys of Expression, they're doing some wicked stuff. You know, I love them as well.
All right, I'm going to give you a pass. I'm not going to hammer you down there because
we're writing all these down.
Yeah, we're checking it out.
Putting on our education.
And anyway, if anyone hasn't seen any of my stuff, I'd love you to check out my Instagram at Antoinette Beenders, because then you'll see a little bit of some of the work that I do in the different categories.
We'll definitely tag you when we release this as well. So anybody that's listening can just go look at your pretty face, and then we'll have a tag right there on your face.
I just saw the French guy, Julien Dis. He's very interesting. He does a lot of hair pieces now for museums and stuff. He's very cool. and he's a photographer as well. And yeah, interesting guy.
That's interesting. Are there any like young hairdressers that you're following like on Instagram that maybe you don't know and you just kind of like that?
Oh yeah, I mean, I'm not so good with the names, but I like Skylar in London. I think she's very interesting. Wow, I need to have a look at my list, guys. I have a lot. I'm following like 1,000 people or something. I don't know. How many do I follow? 1,100 people.
Have you checked out like Updo Guru or Blush and Mane? Blush and Mane does these really awesome like loose braids and stuff that we just love so much. And Updo Guru is doing this amazing like bobby pin sculpture things that are
oh cool. I haven't, but I should by the sounds of it.
Yeah, you should do.
I mean, it sounds a bit weird, although I'm a hairdresser by, heart and soul.
Mm-hmm.
My passion is really image. So I'm very attracted by photography, and my father was a photographer, and I think that's where this comes from. And I think hair for me was a medium to become involved in photography. And hence I think my ultimate job is being a creative director rather than a hairdresser, because I like putting the things together. I love fashion just as much. I love makeup just as much. And I love the combination of putting it all together. And I think that's what it is that I do. Hence the kind of editorial approach to my work. So yeah, I love hair, I love cutting hair, but to me it's a medium to get to where I need to go, which is the image, the ultimate image. I don't know if you can see behind me, it's maybe a little bit of a shadowing thing, but you can look up my pictures at Instagram and you'll see how much I put into imagery.
I love that. Yeah, I love it. I think kind of as you're watching like Instagram evolve, right? Like you're starting to see a little bit more imagery out there as opposed to just like the back of a headshot or something. Like that's where we started, but there's definitely like an evolution to it. And you certainly see it happening. Like there's a lot more interesting kind of imagery out there, that's not just hair and stuff.
Yeah, I mean, I think the interesting thing of Instagram is that everybody can have a picture. So I love that. Yeah. But you know what? There's a difference between a picture and a picture, in my opinion. So
there's a difference between a picture and an image, right?
Oh, correct. Yeah, a picture and an image, and because it to do a really good image, it takes more than just a quick snap of an iPhone. And I really love the art of imagery. Mm-hmm. So, and hopefully you can see that on my page.
I love that. Yeah, that's really cool. Dude, this is just exciting to me.
Yeah. So other than the Instagram, where do you have any other tags that you want to throw out there where people can follow or find you?
Well, we have an Aveda artist page. So if you want to, for everybody who wants to see nice hair, it's like every day we post hair. My page, Antoinette Beenders, obviously. Our Aveda, if you want to know a little bit more about what else, if you're interested in working with natural products, that's a whole different ballgame than for people that are not used to that. I think there's a whole world out there that some people are not aware of, that you can create incredible results now with natural product. I really like to think that at Aveda, our company is 40 years young, and we have been absolute innovators when it comes to plant science and plant beauty. And I'm very interested in that, because to me, if you look at things around you, everything that's good for me comes from nature. I mean, if you look at medication that's made, it's been inspired by nature. So to work with, hair, which is a natural thing, to me, nature and nature goes together. And that's why I'm a very big advocate of natural hair care. Whether it's our brand or any other natural brands out there, as long as they're the real thing and they're not greenwashing. So check out some of our beliefs and what we do. And I just think we're, as a brand, are going into a direction where, you can achieve the ultimate thing with natural, from a color point of view and from a styling point of view. So yeah, check it out.
So what's next? I mean, you say check it out. So what's in store for Aveda over the next 6 or 12 months?
Well, we're going to come out with some very interesting some product launches that are new, that are not out there yet. We just created a new North America artistic team that hopefully is going to tour throughout North America. We are putting a big focus on international, because Aveda's big in America, but not quite as big yet abroad. Hence my travel. Hence I'm going to Brazil, where we're launching. We just launched in Mexico. We have a color award in Australia, which is really funny, called Color Harmony. So we'll be doing that end of August. And then, like I said, I'm doing the Stella McCartney show in June in Milan, where I'll be taking an American team over and combine that with an Italian team. So we're all working together backstage. And then September, New York Fashion Week, London Fashion Week, it keeps going. We're launching India in October, and there.
So speaking of Trevor, are you guys doing something later this year together?
That's right. Well, yeah, hopefully we're working on it. I just saw Trevor actually for his birthday. Did you hear about his birthday?
No.
Okay, so Trevor had his 70th birthday in March, and it was a surprise party, so I flew over for it. And it was so amazing to see. He was so blown away by all of us being there. And it's really fun also, because if you think about Sally Brooks, who is now current British Hairdresser of the Year, she used to be my old assistant, as was Angelo. So it was like different generations. And then you have the whole current Sorby crowd as well. And I'd never met them, and they obviously heard of us. So it was really fun meeting them. It was such a fun night. I literally went to bed at 5, and I was on the plane to New York to meet you guys that night at 7 a.m. I went straight to New York to go to Hairbrain.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, it was a crazy one. But I wouldn't have missed it for the world. His face was just the best. He was so blown away.
That's awesome.
Anyway, so what we're trying to do is, and again, hopefully we're going to pull it off. I'd like to think we are. In October, we're working on doing a show with myself, Sally Brooks, Angelo Seminara, Eugene Solomon, as a thank you to Trevor in London.
Oh. So
that'll be pretty freaking spectacular, I think, because you're never going to see all of us together on stage, because we're all represented by different product companies. So, this is going to be a one-off.
That's amazing.
That would be an awesome.
It's under the Tribute show. You guys familiar with Tribute?
No.
Tribute is a magazine in the UK and in Paris, and they're the ones who are organizing the show. So check out Tribute, and I'll tell you, if anyone likes Sorby, this is going to be a historical event. It really will be.
Yeah, maybe
you have to keep us up to speed, because we might end up bouncing over to London.
Yeah, we would love to come in, maybe trying to get all you guys together on an episode in celebration of Trevor.
So that's thinking right there.
Yeah, there's a lot of things we can do around it for sure. So yeah, Nikki Pope from Tribute Magazine is organizing the whole thing. We had a little chat while we were in London last time, but I need to actually, thanks for mentioning, I need to catch up. I need to find out what the status is of this project.
All right, awesome. All right,
yeah, so I mean, if you can maybe give us a name or something, privately, but to who we can reach out to Tribute and
I can do it now if you want. Nikki Pope, she's the editor of the magazine. It's Tribute Magazine, and it's Nikki Pope. She's organizing it.
So, before we wrap up, if somebody was interested, or how would they get in touch if they wanted to try out for the Aveda artistic team?
I think best is to contact Aveda through our distribution. So you can always write in at aveda.com. We have, customer service there that will get you through, or if you know anyone from our sales team, I'm sure that get you through, or Aveda Education, aveda.edu.com. So yeah, you can get through to that.
That is so.
With Instagram on Aveda Artist as well. That's a good one to do a direct message.
So pretty much anywhere, just put Aveda in the search.
Yeah, exactly. And press send.
That's right. You'll get there. Miss Antoinette, thank you very much. I'm so happy you made it back to New York, or otherwise this doesn't happen, right?
That's right.
So, Antoinette, thank you very, very much for joining us and hanging out with us for this little bit, and of course for sharing your journey and your story. Just thanks again, and thanks for joining us on your day off.
It was my absolute pleasure and honor. Thank you.
Hey, so there it is. Hey, this is a message that we've been trying to bring, I don't know, for the last couple months, actually since we started the podcast. Hey, so if you like the podcast or if you find that it's useful, please leave us a review, a 5-star review on iTunes. Leave us a rating and a review.
But if you don't like it, forget about it.
Yeah, totally forget about this message. We also want to thank Sarah and Blaine from Pretty Gritty. Sarah and Blaine, they are a band out of Portland, Oregon, and we just want to thank them very much for allowing us to use their song, Pleased to Meet You, on our podcast. That's cool. I think you can find, actually you can find their music on iTunes.
Peace and hair grease.